Hey everyone, my name is Ken with Loganville Guitar Lessons located in Loganville, Georgia. And today we're going to be covering the metronome. How to use it, how to add it into your playing, and why this very non-musical, very mechanical noise is going to be one of the best tools that you'll ever use to improve your guitar playing in all aspects. Stay tuned, here we go. So I must say before we begin that the inspiration for this video comes from one of my new students, Sharon D. in Snellville. Sharon D. writes me, "Hey Ken, I am trying to understand the metronome and the beats that go along with the metronome. Is the strumming on the beat with the metronome, or is the strumming after the beat with the metronome, and how can I sync with it?" So that's a really great question, Sharon, and definitely the inspiration for making this video, and something a lot of players have in common. So before I answer that question, we need to get down to basics and we need to listen to the metronome. So let's listen to it for a second. So the metronome has all kinds of little things on it, all right? We have, not every metronome has one. I have a fancy one. I'm using a Korg MA metronome, and it has extra features on here that I like. But let's take a look at it and discuss some of the things on it first. So what we'll have here is we have something called our tempo, all right? And our tempo is used as in like beats per minute is what they're called. So basically this is how many clicks occur within a 1 minute span. So what I'm going to do to demonstrate this is it's better to hear it. So I'm going to hit start. Alright, then as you can hear it's clicking. And if you were to take a span of time instead of minute timer, you would see that each one of these clicks, 50 of them would occur within 1 minute. Now if I take my arrow and I push it up, you'll start hearing the speed increasing. Just go up to a higher number to over-exaggerate it. Okay? So we started at 50 and 100. Now we're working our way to 150, working our way to 200. Alright, working our way up to 200. And usually I find that most metronomes, usually around 250 or sometimes it's a little lower, like 235 or 245 is when they stop, and then they resume back to zero. So in a sec or so, this should just go right back to zero. Sorry, I guess 255, there you go on this one. And then coming back down, right? So first things first, you want to find a speed that is not too fast and I find not too slow. So I actually, myself personally, I find when I am practicing that speeds of a number like 30 are great for when you're trying to maybe work on some chord switches or something. But when you're just playing consistently, I actually find practicing at 30 is just as hard at practicing at the 250 number because of just the amount of time that slips by. So I find that when I practice, I like to set it towards a number around like 60 or so, okay? Or maybe even 70, but it depends on what's going. I'm getting ahead of myself here. So I'm gonna stop this. Another thing that you can do is if you don't want to set a particular time here, maybe you have an idea of something internally that you want to set for a time or a certain amount of time that you can say out loud that you like. So let's say I'm saying 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you might ask yourself, hey, what is that tempo? What's 1, 2, 3, 4? Well, some of the metronomes have a tap tempo timer on it. So instead of trying to guess the work, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what will end up happening is it'll balance out the time. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You could use that as an option. The second thing that you'll find on some metronomes, and again, not everyone's the same, is the ability to change how many of those 1, 2, 3, 4s there are. Because it doesn't have to be 1, 2, 3, 4. It can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you want to make sure in the beginning you're kind of practicing at 4, 4, because that's what a lot of the music and a lot of the timing is in. All right. So if I click here, it'll give my option. It'll change to beat. So I clicked on beat rhythm. And if I change this, it'll actually change the number of the beats that go along the way. So now instead of being 1, 2, 3, 4, it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but at the same rhythm. So a second ago we said 1, 2, 3, 4. This time it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm sorry if my hand's a little shaky. I'm trying to got a grid on the screen to help myself balance out as I'm showing this off. But I want you to also keep something in mind here while you're trying to figure all these things out, is that my beats never changed. So the beats really have nothing to do with how many, the tempo really has nothing to do with how many beats are in this. The amount of beats per second would occur whether you set this to 10 or 3 or even 2. The same amount of beats would occur within 1 minute. So I'm going to show this one more time. So if I change my beats over to say 8, all right, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The movement never changes. It still stays the same way, all right? So I'm going to stop this. We're not going to go crazy into types of rhythms today, but you'll notice that there are notes here, okay? And what you want to do is you want to make sure that whatever you're practicing with, these are quarter notes. This is when you are practicing with 1, 2, 3, 4. That is the type of note that is being implemented. Unless you are working on a different type of rhythmic pattern, you want to make sure that this is the case, because if I was to accidentally set this to something else, all right, notice that when I click it, see it kind of highlights. So if I hit the button, it switches to my beat number we were messing a second ago. If I switch it back, it goes to rhythm. And if I go here, I can change the types of notes. So let's give you an example of what that's going to sound like instead, all right, and why you want to make sure, because if you have this wrong, it's going to mess with you. All right, so you want to be aware of this symbol if it has one. Sometimes they don't have all this. Not every, sorry, I'm trying to get it back to focus here. Not every single, if I pull it out, it'll come back in better. Not every single metronome has this options, but honestly, to tell you the truth, I'm one of those that I invested in this metronome because I like having these extra things, and as you evolve as musicians, you're going to go from understanding why you paid $20 for a metronome and then why another metronome costs you $40. It's just what's going to happen. So I'm going to set my metronome back. So I want 4 beats per second, 4 beats per minute. And I would like to keep my tempo at the same so I don't have to change that. So if I hit start, stop again. One last thing I do want to cover before we go on to the next part is that some metronomes, like, I have the speaker here, this is with the sound coming up, but what I really like about this metronome is I have the ability to plug this into my speakers. Alright, so when I'm starting to play loud and I'm playing on my amplifier, I want to still hear my beat. So I want my sound of my metronome to be as high, if not louder, than my amplifier. And, I don't know about you guys, but I like to play my stuff pretty loud sometimes. So, having that as an option, having an output jack on your metronome is awesome. And I very rarely find myself doing it with the speaker. Today, for today's things. Part of it we're not going to be plugging in, and if we do plug in, I'll have to find a way to sync the audio while I do that. So this concludes part 1 of this, and stay for part 2 here. Again, from Sharon is, I'm trying to understand the beats in the metronome. Is the strumming on the beat with the metronome, or is it after the beat? So the best answer I could say is it's neither. It's inside the beat. So I'm going to try to put a graph up on the screen here. We'll see if my video skills are where they should be. But imagine like a little square, okay, a little black square. And on this black square, there are 4 of them, which symbolizes the beats that are being played out, okay? So with those beats, every time the area that you want to target is in the center of that beat. So again, if we had 4 black squares, all right, and each of those black squares represented one of these, your goal will want to be to aim for the center of those sounds, so it's inside the beat where it occurs. Because if you're playing after, you're not playing on the beat. You're not playing before the beat. And you could say it's on the beat, but on the beat could mean many things, because you could end up hitting the front part of the square, you could hit the back part of the square. So for myself visually, and sometimes I use software for this too on my computer, but I like to aim for the center of that beat every single time. So I'm going to go do some demonstrations with this, but what I want to do is, before you pick up your instrument, all right, is I want you to practice this without your instrument. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So here's one of the things I like to tell all my students, right, is if you can't do it in your head or with your voice, how are you supposed to go pick up like a piece of wood, meaning your guitar, all right, and just play it? If you can't do it with your mouth, how are you supposed to be able to do it on your guitar? All right, and of course your guitar has the ability to do things that you can't do with your mouth, and there's things that you can do with your mouth vocal-wise real easy that you can't do on your guitar, but you have to be able to say it, all right? On top of that, developing your internal rhythm is one of the things that's going to make it that when you pick up your guitar, that's going to just benefit it, and you're going to know when you're making a mistake along the way. You're going to know when something's off because you've been practicing it. So here's the very first thing we're going to do. We're going to put this metronome on. I've got it set to 58, all right, which is the number that we were dealing with a second ago. I've got it set to my quarter note, and I've got it set to 4 beats per second. Again, dominant click is what you'll hear when you hear the 1. So if you notice, one click is different than the rest. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so I'm going to take this now and I'm going to place this next to the microphone so it picks up, and I'm going to show you guys how to do a practice. All right, so we're going to start with the pre-warm-up round on this, all right? And here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about how to clap this out with our hands, all right? So you want to, again, you want to match up with the dominant click, and you want to match up with the other ones. So what I suggest doing is, when you're clapping your hands, to make one hand clap louder than the rest on the 1, and then the other ones are going to be less louder, all right? So for the dominant click, what you want to do is you want to cup your hands when you are clicking it. So 1, 1, okay? On the 2, 3, 4, when the non-dominant ones, you want to keep your hands nice and flat. And you'll find that there's a difference in sound that takes place when you are clapping with your hands cupped versus when you are putting them nice and flat, okay? So we're going to listen for a second. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to let you guys listen and practice that for a second or so. going to stop it now. So that's our pre-warm-up. So the pre-warm-up, and if you need to, if you have a metronome handy, that's great. There are many websites that you can actually find that allow you to go online. So if you go to Google, you can put in metronome and a metronome will pop up. You can go to YouTube and you can do a search for 4/4. So /4, that's your 1, 2, 3, 4 metronome at whatever numbers that you want. And you'll find all kinds of them. There's ones that people have made that sound like wood blocks being hit. There's ones that are mechanical that some people found. Honestly, to tell you the truth, I mean, I whenever I'm in a car ride and I'm trying to work on something musical, obviously I can't play my guitar while I'm driving. I will pull up a metronome and I will work on it mentally along the way. I know that might sound weird, but I'm telling you, like, the more that you add in, the more times and the more ways you find to practice, the more that you will better yourself as a musician, and the better it goes from, hey, I've been playing for 5 years, and during that 5 years you've spent a lot of time, versus someone that's maybe only picked the guitar up for 1 or 2 times. Like, you evolve quick. So rhythm is definitely, if you talk to any musician, they will tell you that rhythm is probably one of the most, if not the most critical portions of learning music and becoming a strong musician. And so I'm not sitting here talking and just standing idly here while you guys are practicing. And I'm going to set a recording on here for 2 minutes. And then you guys are going to practice for those 2 minutes along the way mentally or with your hands. And then moving on to the next part, okay? So here's what we're going to do. So round 1 is going to be to count in your head and to clap on the 1. So you're going to play this metronome. You're going to listen to it for a second. You're going to get a hang of it. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you're going to do that cupping on the 1. Now, I will tell you real quick that I find it kind of funny because when I'm practicing this with students sometimes, there are certain songs that come to my head that line up. And one of those is by Queen. I think it's We Will Rock You. And it's like, I don't know the words, so I'm going to screw it up here. I got mud on your face and got mud on your face. You big disgrace. Kicking your can all over the place. Singing, we will rock you. Singing, we will rock you. Alright, so run this for a minute or so. That might help you a little bit along the way too, but you'll start finding and hearing that certain rhythms involved with certain songs, like sometimes they occur for me and makes the clapping kind of funner. So, alright, so now we're on to round two. Round two is going to pick one beat to skip along the way. So I'm picking beat number 3. So the way this will work on my end will be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 4. 1, 2, 4. So I'm not playing the third every single time. So, all right. So I'm skipping that one along the way. So you want to do that for 2 minutes. Okay. You want to skip one of those beats and you want to nail the other one. All right. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to let the video run for 2 minutes and enjoy. Alright, round 3 is going to be able to pick 2 beats to skip. I'm going to pick number 2 and 3 myself. You can pick whatever you want. So it'll end up being 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so if I put the metronome on. 1, 2, 3. 1. Okay, so pick your own. I'm just giving you guys ideas to play around with. Do that for 2 minutes. Alright, so now's going to be the portion where we're going to go ahead and we're going to pick up our guitars, okay? So we're going to add our instruments in. So again, you want to practice this in isolation, getting the bits down mentally first before you pick up your instrument. Once that happens, you'll find that adding the instrument in is just going to work. It's going to be so much better. So you want to grab your guitar, acoustic, electric, it doesn't matter with this, and you want to turn your metronome on. Now, what I like to suggest is to not actually play a chord. Don't worry about playing anything. Don't think about anything fancy. You want something mindless to play, okay? So what I suggest doing is muting your chords along the way, all right? So what you're going to do to mute, and if you haven't learned how to mute yet, it's okay, I'm going to teach you right now, is instead of playing and fretting the notes, you're going to take your hand, and I usually use this part of my hand, then just place it over the strings, okay? And when you do that, you'll get this just kind of, some people call it a chugga noise, because you'd be like, okay, we just want nothing. And as a result, we're going to be able to better isolate our timing versus a chord where you really can't tell when it's stopping, especially with an open chord, because it just rings. So it's harder to get your timing down, okay? So we're going to do this out. So we're going to go 2, 3. So we're going to do the same thing, and then go on the 1, 2, 3, 4. So why don't you do this for 2 minutes? 2 minutes just strumming on the 1. All right. All right, the second part of this will be to go ahead and get your note to play out, your chord to play out during all of the notes that are being played instead. So instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then kind of gently lay your wrist on the strings, and they'll stop playing. All right. I also suggest doing a set of chords that are like, pick a chord, like I'm picking a D major here, just as an example. to go ahead and just play the bottom strings. All right, that versus like something like a, you know, a E major where like I'm having to worry about all these strings. I'm just picking a D major and I'm only playing the upper four, even upper three strings is fine, okay? And when I want to, I play it, and when I want it to stop, I just lay my wrist on it and then there's no sound. So before you even start, just if this is unfamiliar with you, just go ahead and play, and just for a minute, just get your sound to stop when you want it to. I'm not taking my hands off the fretting. I'm not trying to fret you with my hands. I'm just playing, and then I'm muting the sound of my guitar by placing my wrist on it. Okay, so do that for a second before you begin. Then, when you're ready to, you're going to place the metronome on. 2, 3, 4. Play on the 1, 2, 3, 4. Mute. 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 1, 2, 3, 4, mute. Now, if the muting part is hard, which is understandable, it's okay. There's like a microsecond where you're kind of muting before you pick, which might be difficult. Some of you might experience that. Don't even worry. Just do this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just strum on the 1. 3, 4. Pause the video, pull your metronome up, do that for 2 minutes. Next part will be about picking, all right? So we talked about a lot of strumming, but we haven't discussed picking, all right? So let's look at it this way, right? So if I put this on, and say I'm trying to get better at my ability to pick each of these notes, all right? Right now this picking might be a struggle for me. I might not have that down. You might not have it down, and that's okay. Remember that if the speed is too fast on any of these exercises, to slow it down, and there's nothing wrong with that, and then gradually increase your speed For this part, just to get to it, I'm going to leave the speed the same way we got it, which is at, I believe we said it was 57 or 58, all right? So, 1, now, if you're off, which I was there, I didn't start my click on the 1. Okay, so do this for 2 minutes. Pause it. Some might think that the metronome and what we're doing is only beginning. Ken, you know, when I get faster, is this really gonna help me? And the answer is yes, because I still do it. So I'm gonna over-exaggerate something for a minute to make a point in what I'm talking about. So say I am practicing something, a much different subdivision of notes, and if you're taking lessons with me, we'll get to this, I promise, at some point. It is coming if it has not already come along the way, all right? And what that's going to be is subdivisional bass notes. So how you can take that one and you can make it less than that. So for myself, as I get faster and faster, and we'll see if I can do it on my acoustic right now. I usually do this on my electric, but it's behind all the stands and everything I got for this video, but we'll do it the same way. Say I want to work on one of my higher subdivisions and it's that same exact level, okay? I'm just going to use this as an example, and I want to practice one of my higher numbers, my higher subdivisions, which are 1E ended, 2E ended, 3E ended, okay? Again, don't worry about it. I'm not giving you a lesson on rhythm right now. I'm giving you a lesson on how I use this at higher bass tempos. All right, so if I was to do this, listening for the 1, listening for the 2, 3, 4, 1, E, 1, part of the beat. That's happening, okay? As I go faster and faster, and I want to, I'm changing my amounts of beats. Hold on a second. Put this up to, say, 90 for a second here, right? If I was to do that, and I haven't practiced this, and I haven't practiced it on my acoustic in quite some time, I would start by doing this. Start by getting on the dot. It's also harder to do on the thicker strings. I'm just going to come down here for a second so I don't screw this video up. Guys, you get the idea. So it doesn't matter. This metronome thing sticks in a while, and there's different ways that you can incorporate the metronome into your practices. The last thing I'm going to talk about, and again, this isn't a lesson on bending, but you can use your metronome when you're working on certain types of techniques. So if I'm trying to hone in on my bending, I am slowing this down for a second, okay? And we'll see again if I don't screw this up because it's on my acoustic. It's not as easy to do on the acoustic as it is on the electric, but we're not going for easy here, right? I'm going to listen to my metronome. 2, 3, 4, and break it down. 2, 3, 4. Increase it because, you know, I'm finding that this is not a struggle for me. I want to find my area. I'm not going to try to find my threshold on the video right here, but I'm just going to increase it up for a minute. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2. Sorry, guys. 2, 3, 4. So just again, these are just little tips along the way that you can use as you progress, and just some different ideas that metronome usage and aiming for that along the way, and getting your timing down will benefit you greatly along the way. So thank you very much for watching the video. I'm going to stop this so it's not overtaking me. I hope this video helped you out a lot. I hope the way in which I presented it was great. Hopefully all my video editing came out. I'm going to include some resources on the bottom on some online websites that you can find that will provide metronome usage. But honestly, to tell you the truth, I find YouTube is fantastic, that there are plenty of exercises and types of metronomes and at speeds that you can find along the way that are great. If you want to purchase something, the Korg MA1 has served me for many years now. If anything, I find that the only holdback I find on some metronomes is they top off around 250, and there's a lot of times that my speed has hit past that point and gradually, and I wish it had a little bit faster as my only kick on that. But I found other ways to practice past that point too. So if you currently aren't one of my students and you're watching this video and you're interested, I offer a free 1-hour introductory lesson for anybody wanting to check out. You can check out the school. Love my students. I love doing this. I love showing everybody how there's all these little things you can do that will make you a strong musician faster. And you can do this, and it's very easy to get overwhelmed if you're not having the right type of guidance. I find that the key comes down to is it's not the desire to practice, but what to practice along the way. So have yourself a great one, guys. Thank you for taking time to watch, and to like, subscribe, or comment if this video helped you out a lot. All right, thank you very much. Again, I'm Ken with Loganville Guitar Lessons, and have a fantastic day.